afternoon, and a very good evening to you, the good people of Tube. Hope you're today feeling grand and always well in your world. Hello there, everybody. Today, everybody, I want to talk about mistakes and how mistakes are okay. So this is going to be a bit more of a talking video than a kind of playing video, obviously, apart from the intro jam, which I hope you enjoyed, by the way. But yeah, I want to talk about mistakes today because number one, the most important thing about mistakes is you've got to understand that it's okay in making a mistake when playing the guitar or playing bass or playing drums or singing out of key or whatever, mistakes, or in general, really. Mistakes are okay. Mistakes happen. Human beings by their very nature are very, very inconsistent with things. We can't do things perfectly every time. It just it doesn't happen. We can have a perception that we do things fine every time. There's certain kind of people who you see who oh, I bet they never make a mistake in everything they do. It's like, no, I bet they do. I bet they've made a million mistakes before they've got it where it is, and I bet they still make mistakes now. And the same goes for the guitar. And what any instrument really in general is like, if you make a mistake, don't let that mistake haunt you. Don't let that mistake become you. If you're on mid-gig and you're like, I'm really enjoying this gig, oh, solo. And then you get back into it and you make a mistake. That's over-dramatized. That's the Brookside mistake. If you make a mistake in a gig, it's okay. Forget it. It's gone. There's nothing you can do to change that now. That bit of time is gone. And if you make a mistake while learning a song, that's okay as well. The worst thing you can do when you make a mistake is get angry at it. Because if you get angry, you stop learning. You stop being able to work. Your brain stops being able to work functionally and properly. So when you do make a mistake, just accept it. It's okay. And the thing is, you have to fail to learn, and you have to fail to get better. It sounds totally kind of counterproductive and totally kind of balmy and bonkers, but it is true. The more you fail, the more you learn, and that's exactly what it comes down to. Is the more kind of you think about the more you think mistakes are okay and that's fine. It's an inevitable. Yeah, and again, it is an inevitability. You are going to make a mistake at some point. Live, in front of people, or whatever, you are going to make a mistake on your instrument at some point. So just accept it as that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. And, that's just the way it is. Just accept it. Because if you go around living in fear of making a mistake, it's much in the same way, I spoke about this in a Q&A, but it's much in the same way of kind of going around living in fear of kind of of a string break. You know what I mean? It's an inevitability. It's going to happen. And there's nothing you can do about it. And there's nothing you can do to predict it. And again, it comes back down to this man on my arm, Miyamoto Musashi. I learned this all from him. It's basically about inevitabilities and how you shouldn't be afraid or scared of inevitabilities. Certain things are going to happen in your life that you cannot control and you do not have a say on. It's just, this is what it is. That's the way it's going to be. And that's just tough luck on you. You know what I mean, basically. It's that's what it is. It's you're going to break a string. Tough luck, it's going to happen. That's basically kind of what it is. So just accept it as, okay, fine. If that's the way it's going to be, and I can't do anything about it, me worrying about it, and me stressing about it, and be constantly oh no, and letting it become part of me, is a waste of effort and a waste of time, and it's just not conducive to actually kind of being good, if you know what I mean, at what you do. Because what happens is when if it becomes a big part of you where you're constantly, oh, I made a mistake, need to start again, oh no, I've ruined it. If you kind of get to that point, it becomes part of you, and the more it becomes part of you, you won't be able to progress past that. because you can't grow. You can't accept it. And if you accept it, you can grow. If you can't accept it, you just kind of stay where you are. You know what I mean? I don't know if this is making... I hope this is making sense. But yeah, I don't eat my own hair. That's gross. But yeah, mistakes happen. You know, like I say, even if, you know, if it's at home or it's in front of a crowd or it's in front of 55,000 people or whatever, mistakes are going to happen. It's an inevitability of life, you know, playing an instrument and life, actually, as well. But, you know, mistakes happen, and it's how you deal with it that defines how you kind of continue. Like I say, if you do a guitar solo and something goes wrong, you hit a wrong note, your pedal dies. I've just thrown my plectrum. I keep doing that. Your pedal dies. Your amp dies. Somebody throws a banana at you. I don't know. You know, and it puts you off. You can do one of two things at that point. You can let that mistake become you, or you can just let it go. And letting it go is always a better option, because letting mistakes become you in a gig context or learning context or anything like that is really damaging. It really is. It's really, really bad for you. It's really unhealthy, and you don't want that. You don't want that to be. You don't need it. It's a negative kind of. It's a very negative thing to have to carry around, especially if you're 2 songs into a gig. And sorry, that's my phone. If you're 2 songs into a gig and you make a mistake where you totally fluff it, and you've got another 19 songs to do in that gig, say, it's not good to be carrying that weight with you for the next 19 songs, because you will make more mistakes. I mean, you probably make them anyway, but the fact that you are now conscious of that makes it worse. I don't know if I don't know if this is making... I hope this is making sense. I really hope this is making sense. But like I say, you've got to be aware of it, but let it go. That's what I want to say. And I say, the more you learn to let mistakes go and laugh them off, or just kind of go, well, okay, whatever, you know, just let it go, the easier you'll have it, the better you'll be able to play, because you will no longer live in fear of mistakes. You never longer live in fear of that inevitability of, oh, what happens if I ruin this? You don't know until, you know, you can't predict when you're going to make a mistake. You can rehearse something 1,000,000 billion times, but just because you can play it perfectly doesn't mean you're not going to ever make a mistake on it. You know what I mean? And the fact of the matter is, another fact of the matter is, which is very interesting, which I've always found, is the only person who spots your mistakes is you. How many times have you said to somebody's come up to you after you've played or something, and somebody said, that was amazing, I really enjoyed that. How many times has that happened? And then you've gone, yeah, but I made loads of mistakes. And they go, really? You know, how many times has that happened? That has happened so many times to me, where I've like gone, oh, I've totally ruined that. And then people come up afterwards and say, that was awesome. You know what I mean? It's weird. So the only person who really sees your mistakes are you. If you keep going, if you make a mistake and then just keep playing, you know what I mean, then invariably no one will spot it. Because a mistake is a point in time. You know what I mean? If this is a song, a mistake is this much of it. It's nothing. It's barely anything. The rest of the song is what's important. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake. It's fine. You know, mistakes happen. When you're learning guitar or learning any instrument and you keep making the same mistake, or you keep making a mistake or whatever, it's fine to make it. It's fine. It's fine. My most recent song, whatever it was called, I don't even know, the one that goes... That chord progression, which is a very simple chord progression, I couldn't keep that in my head. I came up with that chord progression and I was like, I can't... Every time I was trying to track the rhythm, I would forget it. Like, you know, I'd forget the I'd forget the A section, I'd forget the verse, or then I'd forget the pre-chorus, and I'd forget that. But the more I did it, the more I learned. But the one thing I didn't do was get angry at it and go, oh, I'm useless, I can't do this, although there was some of that as well. But I didn't give up on it. I was like, no, I'm not going to let this, me missing the F sharp or the D or the whatever, I'm not going to let that define what this song means or where we're going with this. I'm just going to let it go. Just let that go. And it's amazing what that does to your mindset when you make a mistake and you totally fluff something, and all of a sudden, if you just go, oh well, and you just move on through it, it's quite incredible what that can do to your mindset. It can really kind of like put you back on the straight and narrow. Instead of, like I said, instead of that mistake defining you and you're just like, oh, I'm so useless, why am I even bothering, and I'm going to put the guitar down and go away. Instead of being like that, you become like, oh, well, I'll do it again. And once you get to that mindset, it's a lot more professional for one as well, because nothing phases you. You're just like, if you make a mistake, you're like, I'll just do it again. It's fine. It's not a problem. You just do it again. Or, if you're in a live situation, you make a mistake, it's fine. It's fine. It's totally fine. But anyway, I'm digressing slightly here, as I always tend to. But I'm going to put my guitar down, actually, because I'm too tempted to play it. But yeah, like I say, this video isn't going to be ridiculously long. And I'm in a really I'm not in a very good headspace, so yeah, just bear with me, everybody. But yeah, so just, don't worry about mistakes. Just let mistakes be what they be. You know what I mean? It's like, if it goes wrong, it goes wrong. Just find where you are, take a breath, take a step back in your head from it, and just dive back in. Mistakes are fine. You're gonna make them. There's nothing you can do about that. You can't stop it. You can do everything you can do a lot of practicing to try and avoid it, but you are going to make a mistake at some point, and there's nothing you can do about that. And a mistake might come from you break a string, or your amp dies, or something throws you off. You know what I mean? And it might not necessarily even be you that makes you make a mistake. It could be something else. But like I say, a banana being thrown at your head. But these things happen. Mistakes happen. And it's okay. And all you need to do is just accept it as an inevitability that, you're going to make a mistake. Things are going to go wrong. That guitar solo you've been practicing for 2 weeks and you can't wait to play live, or you can't wait to play with your friends at a jam night or whatever. You have to embrace the very possibility that you might get 2 notes into it and hit a wrong note. In which case, you just need to keep going. If you let that mistake become you, it owns you. For the rest of the performance, it'll own you, and it'll make you get angry, and then once you're angry, you can't think straight. Humans, by their very nature, once they get into an angry state, do not think. They act. They just kind of go on this weird kind of like animal kind of instinct, and it's invariably bad. I don't know many times where anger's kind of like a good thing. Especially it's not conducive to creating or being creative. Anger hinders creativity. If you get angry at something, and you can't vent it, it just hinders it. So you've just kind of got to, again, going back to the Miyamoto Musashi thing, you've just got to let it go. You accept it. It's an inevitability. Don't worry about it. It'll happen and everything will be fine. It's fine to make mistakes. Mistakes happen. You're going to mess things up, but that's okay. You don't have to worry about anything else. String breaks happen. I spoke about that in a Q&A as well. I know people are afraid of breaking strings. What happens if I break a string? What am I going to do? There's nothing you can do. Strings by their very nature do break. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter how much you pay for them or how expensive they are or whatever make, model or whatever size they are. The fact of the matter is, there's always going to be one string that might be faulty. Your saddle might be a bit too rough and it might break it. You might hit the guitar too hard at a gig and it might snap. You know what I mean? All sorts of things can happen. And the only way you get through it is just by accepting the fact that these are all inevitabilities of what might happen. But once you accept it, you don't think about it, and you just let things be what they'll be. Instead of kind of like doing what ifs, like what if, what happens if this, what happens if that, what happens if this, because invariably those things won't happen. They're just in your head. It's like, what happens if, like, you know, I'm on stage and a giant squirrel comes up and starts, like, you know, heckling me, and then his mate the badger walks in and starts eating my pedals. You know, those what ifs are in your head only. They're not reality. You know what I mean? These things invariably won't happen. You know, string breaks happen, yes, but it might not happen at that gig. It might not happen at your next gig. It might not happen for 2 years. You know what I mean? It's one of those things, you just don't know when it's going to happen. But living in fear of it is not the way to go about it. You can't live in fear of mistakes. You can't live in fear of breaking strings. You can't live in fear of your amp dying, your pedals dying, your leads dying, people throwing stuff at you, people heckling you, people hating you, people booing you. You can't live in fear of that. You've just kind of got to accept the fact that these things might and probably will happen at some point, and just go with it. Because it's just a moment in time. It's just here. That's it. You know, what about this? Instead of just focusing on this, what about this? What about the bigger picture here? What happens when the bigger thing? And I say, the more you can let mistakes be and go, the more you can actually be free to just enjoy things. So if you make a mistake, laugh at it. You know, just chuckle. You know, mistakes happen. It's okay. You know, because and the reason why I do this video is because there is I know, and I've spoke to so many people, and I've seen it so many times of people when they make a mistake, they're like, why? And it's just like, and you can just see the anger boiling up in them. And I've been there as well. It wasn't until, I say, reading Miyamoto Musashi's kind of teachings, I kind of like started to understand the inevitabilities of kind of like, you know, these things are going to happen. There's nothing you can do about it, so just forget it. You know, don't let it bother you. If you make a mistake, fine. Make a mistake. You know, at least you're not like Miyamoto Musashi and you're not mid-duel with somebody with a samurai sword trying to wave it at your face. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, if you're in a gig situation, at least someone's not trying to kill you. Although I have had that at a few gigs. I've had glasses thrown at me. Remember one was kind of like, this pint glass was like this. Vroom. I could feel it in my hair. Very scary. Anyway, that's another story for another time. But yeah, so I wanted to, just wanted to do this little quick video basically on, like, you know, mistakes and how they are fine. You know, it's okay to make mistakes. You know, it's okay to mess up. It's okay not to be able to play something straight off the bat, because that's another thing as well. People go, oh, why can't I do this? It's like, it will happen in time. Time is everything. When learning an instrument, time is everything. You have to give it time. You can't do things straight away. You can't pick up a guitar and all of a sudden you're Steve Vai, or you Joe Satriani, or whatever, you know, or you John Frusciante, or Jimi Hendrix, or Peter Green. You're not, you know, you can't do that. Steve Vai himself admits that when he first started playing guitar, he was rubbish. You know, he had to practice and practice and practice to get good. And that's the same with anybody. There's not many people, if anybody, who can just pick up an instrument, be it guitar, bass, drums, or whatever, and just can do something straight off the bat with it. They just can't. It's impossible. You have to work at it. Even prodigies, like, you know, you see all these child prodigies, they've all had to work at it. You know what I mean? They all have to put the time in. You know what I mean? So, again, you know, and making mistakes is part of that. You learn by making mistakes. You know, you when you're young, you learn things are hot by burning your hand. You know, you learn kind of like, you know, how to walk properly by falling over. You know, you learn by failure. You know, humans, we learn by failing. You know, when something goes wrong, you go, right, I won't do that again. You know, when something goes, you know, you learn through that kind of that kind of thing, and it's the same with mistakes. You know, you learn from mistakes. If you embrace a mistake and it becomes you're not going to learn from it, because all you're going to get is angry. And once you get angry, your brain becomes hazy, you can't think straight, you can't think clearly, and it's just you. That is you. You are a mistake all of a sudden. And I've been there, trust me. And it's really damaging to your performance and your playing. But if a mistake happens, you've made a mistake, and you just kind of go, okay, what's next? And you move on. Calm, collected, and just serene with it. Just accept it for what it is. And you move on from it, and it just doesn't... It has got no thingy, and you just keep going. That's when you're free. Because you're not scared. You're not living in fear. And the same thing with string breaks, and what happens if my amp dies, or what happens if my pedals die, or what happens if this happens. If it happens, it happens. The worst thing you can do is get angry and flustered at it, because you won't be able to troubleshoot it and figure a way out. Because when you make a mistake, if you're playing, you should always kind of play from your heart area. You should always play from here. It's the most honest place you can play music from is here. And this is where music gets you anyway. You know, how many times you listen to your favourite song and you don't feel it in your head? You know, you feel it here. You feel it in you. You feel it in your inner being. You know what I mean? You don't feel it in your head. But when you make a mistake, the feel of what happens there shoots from here to goes whoop, and shoots to your head. And all of a sudden, you're like, oh! And once it goes to your head, you can go one or two ways. Like I say, anger or troubleshoot. And the troubleshooting way is best, because if you make a mistake and you just go, okay, what's the next note? There we go, and back in. And that can happen in a split second as well, if you're not scared of it. You know what I mean? Whereas if you get angry, you get lost, you get flustered, and everything goes wrong. And it just falls to pieces. How many times have you been angry trying to do something and you get angry at it? You know, depending on whatever it is. It could be anything. Putting up a shelving unit. Putting, you know, whatever. And how many times you got angry at it and all of a sudden everything just starts going wrong. You know, all of a sudden you can't find the right screw. All of a sudden you've lost your screwdriver. All of a sudden everything's just falling apart. All of a sudden you can't play this song anymore that you could play yesterday. All of a sudden you can't make this that you made the other day, or whatever, you know, in life. How many times has that happened to you? Because that's happened to me a million times. And it all comes down to your mindset. And again, that's why I say it comes from there. It shoots up to your brain, and then you play from your head, and you need to just go vroom and go back down again. You know what I mean? So when you make a mistake, that jump, if you make a mistake, break a string, or any of that kind of thing, your heart, it does go vroom back to your brain, because you need to be switched on again. You need to understand where and what's going wrong. You know, so if you do hit a wrong note, you need to know where you're going. So you need to think. You know, if your amp dies, you need to think about what you need to do. If your pedals die, you need to think about what they need to do. But if you stay in that headspace, then you're never going to get back into it. So you need to kind of like zone it out. And again, accept it, move on, let it go, troubleshoot the problem, zone it out, and go back here. You know what I mean? I really hope this is making sense. I hope this isn't a lot of waffle and I'm just like talking nonsense. So I do, if it's waffle and nonsense, I do apologise, everybody. Like I say, I do have tendencies to jibber jabber on a lot. So where are we? So yeah, but like I say, you know, just accept it. Mistakes happen. You know, you're gonna make a mistake. You know, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, you know, you're going to make a mistake, and that's just the way it's going to have to be, sadly. And this is the thing, is like, you know, people say all the time, it's like, you know, what happens if I do this? What happens if that happens? It's like, yeah, what does happen? You know, does it matter? You know, don't live in that fear of kind of like, oh, but what happens if people laugh at me? Who cares? You know, it doesn't. Nothing matters like that, really. A mistake is a moment in time. That's all it is. And I say, if you play for 2 hours and you make a mistake, and the mistake lasts half a second, if that, you hit one note in half a second out of 2 hours, and that bothers you for the entire 2 hours, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. You know what I mean? Just troubleshoot the problem and go back to enjoying the music and just letting the music take you. Mistakes happen, string breaks happen, things break, things fail. People won't like you. People will hate you. Some people will love you. Some people won't. Some people try to throw things at you. You know, it doesn't matter. You know, the only thing that matters is the music and how you serve it. You know what I mean? And you can't serve it if you're flustered and angry in that mental state. Playing with anger is good, but playing with flustered anger, where you're like, ugh, like that, and you're just angry at everything, is not good. That's not conducive. Playing with controlled kind of anger and letting things vent out of you through music is a good thing, but kind of just being angry at things is not the way to go. So anyway, like I said, it not particularly massive video. This one, he says, at 25 minutes. But yeah, I just wanted to say that, you know, mistakes are inevitable. You're going to make mistakes. Mistakes are going to happen. It's okay. Every time you make a mistake, just say it's okay, and laugh at it. You know, laugh at it. It's like, that was funny actually. It's quite amusing. I'll do it again. The less you get angry at it, the more you'll learn, and the quicker you'll progress. The more you get angry at it, it'll stunt your growth. It really will, because you can't get over that hill. Mistakes happen. That's just the way it is. So just move on from it. Let it go. Let it just become that section in time that you just go, vroom, push it out of the way, and we're back. Yeah, if that makes any sense. So yeah. So I really hope that made sense, people of YouTube. I really do. Like I say, yeah, because it is something I've wanted to talk about for quite a while, actually, mistakes, because mistakes are important to just accept. They really are. It's one of the biggest lessons when learning to play an instrument of any kind. It really is to kind of like just understand that, like, you know, mistakes happen. It's okay to make mistakes. Yeah, it's okay. Don't let it become you. Is the key there, because if you let a mistake become you, you're done. You are done. There is no commitment. Once that mistake takes control of your being, that you're done. You won't learn. You won't be able to progress. So you need to fail to succeed. That is like the weird juxtaposition of anything in life, really, is you need to fail to succeed. Like I say, you know, you need to burn your hand to realise the kettle's hot. You know, you need to cut your fingers to realise that knife's sharp, and you know not to do it again. You know, humans learn by failing. So again, when it comes down to making a mistake live or practicing or whatever, let it go. It's not important. Mistakes aren't important. Your growth and what you're playing is important. So if you make a mistake, you make a mistake. It's okay to make it. So yeah. Anyway, so it was a bit of a long-winded answer. Well, not long-winded kind of answer to that kind of thing, but I did want to talk about it because I feel it's really important just to accept it as an inevitability that you are going to make a mistake, and not to get angry at it is the key, and just to kind of just accept it, move on from it, and just keep going. You know, the moment you let that kind of negativity become you, is that you're done. You really are. Been there, done it, seen it. It's not good. It's not good. So don't do it, and just accept it. Inevitabilities. Life's full of them. And things are going to happen that you don't like. Things are going to happen that you do like. But there's nothing you can do about it. And you can't predict when they're going to happen and when they're not going to happen. So you just got to keep going. And just let things be what they be. And yeah. Sorry, I'm in a very reflective mood. I just realised. So that's probably why this video came about. So anyway. I hope there's something in this video anyway that you can take away and kind of like hopefully makes sense. Because I kind of do feel that kind of like the negative side of my brain is now telling me that I've just spoke for half an hour and not actually said anything. So, but I've got to shut that part of my head up. Like, no, I think I've covered everything I wanted to talk about, how mistakes are inevitable and this, that and the other. I've got to talk my brain out of that now, which is a lot easier said than done. I totally know that, and I totally agree. But you can do it. You can just accept it and go, yeah, well, you know, I'm going to move on from that now. If you think that, then that's fine. You know what I mean? If it's, you know, if it is what it is, you know, at the end of the day, you know. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, everybody. I hope it's been I hope it's been like, you know, at least a little bit informative. And yeah. And I'll see you again on Wednesday for a Q&A. And yeah, have a great morning, afternoon, and a good evening. And I will see you again very soon. Yeah, have a great one. Like I say, don't worry about mistakes. Just one more time. Let them go. They're not worth worrying about. Just let it go. Okay, so thank you very much. See you again. Goodbye now. Thank you.